My mother sent me an email telling me not to come to my own sister's charity gala because I was an embarrassment to the family. Not because I was an addict. Not because I'd been to prison. Not because I'd done anything wrong at all. Because I'd chosen to become a federal prosecutor instead of making $300,000 a year at a corporate law firm. Let me say that again. My family thought prosecuting organized crime and human traffickers made me a failure. The email came on a Thursday afternoon. I was in my office at the U.S. Attorney's headquarters in downtown Boston, reviewing grand jury indictments for a RICO case. Julia, your sister Lauren is co-chairing the Children's Hospital Gala on Saturday with Elizabeth Sinclair, Congressman Sinclair's wife. This is a critical networking event for her interior design business. You are not to attend. Your presence would be embarrassing given your situation. My situation. My career prosecuting federal crimes was a situation that needed to be hidden. 3 years earlier, I'd walked away from Wellington and Associates, one of Boston's most prestigious law firms. Partner track, corner office in sight, $320,000 salary. I took a job as an assistant U.S. attorney making $90,000. Now I made $147,000 after a promotion. Still less than half. You're throwing away your career, Mom had said. For what? To play hero. To do work that matters. She hung up on me. My younger sister Lauren thrived. She built a boutique interior design firm, married a hedge fund manager, lived in Beacon Hill, vacationed in the Hamptons. Everything our family wanted. I lived in a modest Cambridge condo, worked 70-hour weeks prosecuting organized crime and corruption, and had a security detail because of death threats from 3 different criminal organizations. But Mom called it throwing my life away. My phone buzzed. Lauren. Mom told you about Saturday, right? Please don't come. Elizabeth Sinclair is everything for my business. I can't have my prosecutor sister scaring everyone away. Congratulations on co-chairing. Hope it goes well. That's not an answer. Promise me you won't show up. I won't crash your event. Good. Because you made your choice. You chose criminals over family. Let those of us who made smart choices have this. My paralegal Ryan appeared in my doorway. You okay? You look annoyed. Family stuff. The stay away from my important event conversation. He winced. For what it's worth, boss, you're prosecuting people who've terrorized communities for decades. That's worth more than any corner office. After he left, I scrolled to Elizabeth Sinclair's contact. Here's the thing my family didn't know. Elizabeth Sinclair, the congressman's wife, my sister's co-chair. She was my best friend from Harvard Law. Roommates first year. We survived the brutal competition together. After graduation, she clerked for a federal judge, then married Christopher Sinclair, now a U.S. congressman. We stayed close. But my family had no idea. They'd never asked about law school. I scrolled to Elizabeth's text from 2 weeks ago. Lunch soon. Also, random question, are you related to Julia Rhodes? She's co-chairing the hospital gala with me. Yes, my younger sister. How's that going? She's enthusiastic. Very different energy from you. Listen, you should come to the gala. I'll think about it. Now I made a decision. Is the invitation still open for Saturday? Absolutely. I'll add you to the VIP list. Does my family know we're friends? No. She's never mentioned you except to say you work in law enforcement. Why? Long story. See you Saturday. Growing up, I'd been the golden child. Until I wasn't. Valedictorian. Harvard Law. Federal clerkship with Judge Diane Hartwell, one of the most respected judges in the country. Then I chose the U.S. Attorney's Office over Wellington and Associates. Over 3 years, I built a reputation. Prosecuted a state senator for corruption, took down a human trafficking ring, secured convictions against organized crime figures. Last year, at 32, I was promoted to senior assistant U.S. attorney. The U.S. attorney recommended me for a federal judgeship, but my family only knew I'd left the good job. They didn't know about the commendations, the New York Times coverage, or that defense attorneys now called me one of the best prosecutors in New England. They'd never asked. Elizabeth knew. She texted after every major case. When I received a death threat serious enough for FBI protection, she called immediately. Friday evening, Elizabeth called. I'm excited you're coming, but I need to warn you. Your sister's been telling people she's the successful Rhodes sister. She told someone you work in local law enforcement. Julia, you're a federal prosecutor. Very different things. Why haven't you corrected her? I wanted to talk to you first. If your family treats you poorly tomorrow, I won't tolerate it. You clerked for Judge Hartwell. You've prosecuted cases that changed policy. The Attorney General mentioned you in a speech last month. I'm not going to let your family diminish that. Saturday arrived. The Four Seasons. Black tie, $1,000 per plate. I wore a navy gown and arrived at 7:15. At the entrance, Lauren stood with Elizabeth, greeting guests. Lauren looked stunning in an emerald dress. Elizabeth saw me first. Julia. She pulled me into a hug. Lauren's head whipped around. Her smile froze. What are you doing here? Elizabeth invited me. Elizabeth laughed. Julia was my roommate at Harvard Law. We've been friends for over a decade. Lauren's face went pale. Your roommate. Best friends, actually. Elizabeth turned to the older couple beside them. May I introduce Julia Rhodes? She's a senior assistant U.S. attorney, one of the finest prosecutors in Massachusetts. This is Henry and Beatrice Blackwell. Henry Blackwell's eyebrows rose. The Julia Rhodes who prosecuted the Giordano case. Yes, sir. Remarkable work. That conviction sent shockwaves through organized crime. Beatrice added, and the Senator Bradford corruption case. Your work has been invaluable. Lauren stood frozen. Elizabeth linked her arm through mine. Come on. The board chair has been asking about you. The next hour was surreal. Every donor knew my work. The board chair had followed the trafficking case. A philanthropist asked about federal-state cooperation. A retired judge praised my appellate brief. You didn't tell me you were famous, Elizabeth teased. I'm just good at my job. Across the room, Lauren stood with Mom and Dad. Mom's face was pinched with confusion. At 8:30, Elizabeth tapped her champagne glass. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for supporting Children's Hospital. I'm thrilled to be co-chairing with Lauren Rhodes. Then she said something that made my heart stop. I want to recognize some special guests who dedicate their lives to public service. They could make more money elsewhere, but they choose to serve. Her eyes found mine. My dear friend Julia Rhodes is here tonight. She's a senior assistant U.S. attorney who prosecutes the most complex federal crimes in our state. Organized crime, corruption, human trafficking. Julia, could you stand? I stood slowly. The room applauded. Real, sustained applause. Henry Blackwell stood. Then others. Within seconds, half the room was on its feet. Mom's face went white. Dad stared. Lauren looked like she might cry. Julia clerked for Judge Diane Hartwell, one of the most respected jurists in the country. She's been recommended for a federal judgeship. And she's my best friend from law school. She raised her glass. To public servants like Julia, who remind us that success isn't measured in dollars but in impact. More applause. I sat down, face burning. Elizabeth came to my table. Was that too much? It's fine. Thank you. Your family looks shocked. They didn't know. How did they not know? They never asked. 10 minutes later, Mom approached. Her hands trembled. I didn't realize you knew Elizabeth Sinclair. We were roommates at Harvard. You never mentioned that. You never asked about law school. She flinched. Elizabeth said you're a federal prosecutor. Senior assistant U.S. attorney. For 3 years. But you left Wellington and Associates. To prosecute federal crimes. Organized crime, corruption, trafficking. Federal court, Mom. The people applauding. They've followed my work. She looked lost. Why didn't you tell us? I did. You told me I was throwing my life away. I stopped trying. But a federal judgeship. The U.S. attorney recommended me. I'm on the list. Mom sat back. You gave up $320,000 to make what? $147,000. I got promoted. That's less than half. And I'm doing work that matters. I've put people in prison who hurt communities for decades. That's worth more to me than money. But you thought I'd failed. I met her eyes. You decided who I was. I let you believe it because I was tired of defending myself. Lauren appeared, face blotchy. I told everyone you worked in law enforcement. Like a police officer. I didn't know you were this. She gestured at the room. I tried to tell you. Because you left the firm. I gave up a job I hated to do work I love. That's not failure. She wiped her eyes. Elizabeth Sinclair is my biggest opportunity. And now they all know you're my sister. How am I supposed to compete? This isn't a competition. It is to Mom and Dad. Always has been. I finally had something where I was the successful one. Her voice cracked. And now you're this. I've been this for 3 years. You just didn't ask. Dad approached. Julia, that was quite an introduction. I didn't fully understand what you were doing. I explained when I took the job. I thought it was a lateral move to a less prestigious position. It was a move to the most prestigious criminal prosecution office in the state. Federal prosecutors handle cases local offices can't. He adjusted his glasses. Henry Blackwell spent 20 minutes talking about your Giordano case. Called it landmark prosecution. It was a significant RICO case. Why didn't you tell us? I laughed, bitter. You told me I was throwing my life away. You haven't asked about my work in 3 years. You didn't invite me to family events. Why would I share my successes with people who'd already decided I'd failed? His face reddened. We were concerned. No. You were concerned about status. What you could tell your friends. Mom sent me an email telling me to stay away because my situation would embarrass Lauren. My career serving my country is a situation to be hidden. Elizabeth reappeared. Julia, Judge Hartwell is here. She heard you were attending. My heart stopped. Judge Diane Hartwell. She's at the VIP table. Judge Diane Hartwell stood when she saw me. Julia Rhodes. How wonderful. Judge Hartwell, this is an honor. I've been following your work. The Marshall corruption case, masterful. Your RICO prosecution used precedents I set. You built on them beautifully. Your opinions were foundational. She smiled. I heard you're on the list for the next federal appointment. The U.S. attorney recommended me. Michael doesn't give recommendations lightly. He told me you're one of the finest legal minds he's worked with. When the time comes, I'll be calling the Senate Judiciary Committee myself. You'd make an excellent judge. Behind me, a soft gasp. Lauren stood nearby, champagne in hand. Judge Hartwell noticed her. And you are? Lauren Rhodes. Julia's sister. Ah, yes. Wonderful work co-chairing tonight. The judge turned back. Julia, let's have lunch soon. I want to discuss your appellate brief. The Fourth Amendment arguments were innovative. After Judge Hartwell left, Lauren grabbed my arm. A federal judge just said she's calling the Senate for you. She thinks I'd be a good judge. You're going to be a federal judge before you're 35. Do you know how rare that is? It's not confirmed. But it's happening. Everyone knows it. Henry Blackwell told me you're one of the brightest legal minds of your generation. Beatrice asked if you were related to me, and when I said yes, she said, you must be so proud. Tears filled her eyes. I realized I've never once been proud of you. Only jealous. The gala ended at midnight. Elizabeth found me gathering my coat. Leaving so soon. Long night. I'm sorry if I put you on the spot. Your family was treating you like an embarrassment. I couldn't stand it. Thank you for having my back. Always. Coffee next week. Christopher is considering legislation based on the corruption patterns you exposed. Mom appeared. Julia, may I drive you home? I'd like to talk. We drove in silence for 10 minutes. I owe you an apology. A significant one. Mom. Let me finish. Your father and I spent 3 years treating you like you'd made a mistake. Tonight, I watched federal judges, congressmen, and philanthropists treat you with genuine respect. Not because of money, but because of your work. She paused. Judge Hartwell is one of the most respected appellate judges in the country. If she says you should be a judge, she means it. We stopped at a red light. Her hands gripped the wheel. I've been so focused on traditional success markers. Corner offices, salaries. I didn't see what you were building. You've accomplished more by 32 than most lawyers do in entire careers. And I've been treating you like a disappointment. You have. I'm sorry. Truly. An apology doesn't erase 3 years of being told I'm an embarrassment. Of being excluded. I know. I don't expect immediate forgiveness. But I want to do better. She pulled up to my building. Would you be willing to explain your work sometime? I'd like to understand. I looked at her. She seemed smaller. Older. Maybe. But Mom, if you're going to be part of my life, you need to accept I chose this career because it's what I want. Not because I failed. I understand. Do you? Because until tonight, you thought I was an embarrassment. Tomorrow, when the glow wears off, will you still think I made the right choice? She was quiet. Tonight, I watched my daughter receive a standing ovation from Boston's most influential people. I watched a federal judge say she's recommending you. I watched the congressman's wife call you her best friend. And I realized I've been measuring success with the wrong ruler. Words are easy. 3 years of action say otherwise. Then let me show you through actions. Starting now. I got out. Good night, Mom. One more thing. Lauren is devastated. Not because you outshone her. Because she realized she's never really known you. We've been so busy judging your choices that we never asked who you actually are. No. You didn't. Sunday morning, I woke to 15 missed calls and 43 texts. Lauren, I'm sorry. Can we talk? Dad, very proud. Should have said that years ago. Mom, coffee this week. I want to hear about your work. Elizabeth, Henry Blackwell's foundation wants to discuss supporting prosecution initiatives. Judge Hartwell's clerk, Judge Hartwell would like to schedule lunch. I went for a run along the Charles River. When I returned, Ryan had texted, Boss, you're trending on legal Twitter. Hashtag federal prosecutor goals is blowing up. The tweets were from prosecutors, law students, public defenders. Judge Hartwell calling for Julia Rhodes' appointment is huge. This is excellent prosecution. Federal prosecutor at 29, recommended for judgeship at 32. She's why I want to do public interest law. Rhodes and I are on opposite sides, but I respect her work. She'd make an outstanding judge. My phone rang. U.S. Attorney Michael Patterson. Julia, what happened last night? Elizabeth Sinclair introduced me at a gala. It got attention. He laughed. Judge Hartwell called this morning. She's moving forward with her Senate recommendation. She said you're exactly the kind of prosecutor who should be on the bench. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept if it comes through. We need judges like you. People who chose this work because it matters. 3 years ago, I'd walked away from prestige and money to do work I believed in. My family called it failure, excluded me, treated me like an embarrassment. But I'd built something real. I'd prosecuted cases that changed lives. I'd earned respect. I'd made a difference. That was what success actually looked like. Monday, Lauren showed up at my office. I came to actually apologize, not just text you. She sat down. I've spent 3 years thinking I'd escaped your shadow. That I was the successful one. Then Saturday happened, and I realized I've never been in your shadow. I've been living in complete ignorance of who you are. Lauren. Let me finish. You prosecute organized crime. You've had death threats. I saw the security detail outside. You're doing dangerous, important work. And I've been calling you a failure. You were focused on different measures. Wrong measures. Completely wrong. She wiped her eyes. Judge Hartwell sat next to me at dinner. She told me about your work. About a trafficking case where you saved 17 women. She said you're one of the finest examples of what a law degree should be used for. She asked if I understood how rare it is to have a sibling genuinely changing the world. Her voice broke. I said I didn't, because I've been too busy being jealous. Can we start over? Can I actually get to know my sister? Maybe. But I'm not defending my career anymore. If you're going to be part of my life, you need to accept this is what I do. I do accept it. Finally. Over 3 months, things shifted. Mom asked about my cases, the work, the challenges. She attended my lecture at Harvard. Dad sent me an article about judicial appointments, proud of you. Should have said this years ago. Lauren invited me to coffee weekly, asking about law school, Elizabeth, my career. She stopped comparing us. Judge Hartwell and I had lunch monthly. She mentored me on appellate strategy and judicial temperament. Elizabeth and I worked on criminal justice reform. Her husband introduced legislation based on patterns I'd identified. In March, a federal judgeship opened. The U.S. attorney submitted my name. Judge Hartwell called the Senate. Elizabeth's husband supported it. In June, I was confirmed as a United States District Court judge at 33. The investiture ceremony was on a Tuesday. The courthouse was packed. My team from the U.S. Attorney's Office filled 3 rows. Colleagues, public defenders, even some defendants I'd prosecuted fairly, all came. Judge Hartwell administered the oath. Do you solemnly swear to administer justice without respect to persons, and do equal right to the poor and to the rich, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as United States District Judge under the Constitution and laws of the United States, so help you God? I do. My family sat in the front row. Mom cried. Dad beamed. Lauren smiled through tears. After the ceremony, Mom pulled me aside. 3 years ago, I told you that you'd thrown your life away. I remember. I was wrong. Catastrophically wrong. You didn't throw anything away. You built something extraordinary. Thank you, Mom. Your Honor, she corrected, smiling through tears. I have to call you that now. Elizabeth approached with champagne. Judge Rhodes. Has a nice ring to it. Still feels surreal. It shouldn't. You earned this. Every step. She raised her glass. To my best friend from Harvard Law. The one who chose the hard path, the meaningful path, and showed everyone what success actually looks like. As I looked around, at colleagues who'd supported me, family who'd finally understood, friends who believed, I realized something. I hadn't needed their validation to succeed. But having it, finally, after 3 years of being called a failure, that felt pretty damn good. Thanks for listening. And if this story touched you, if it reminded you that success isn't always about the money, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose the work that matters, don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about choosing your own path, even when everyone thinks you're crazy for doing it. The only failure is giving up who you are to become who others think you should be.